Tennessee transfer Jonas Aidoo is now off the board, committing to Arkansas. So the search for a center for North Carolina just got all the more stressful.
You are Locked On Tar Heels, your daily podcast on the UNC Tar Heels. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey there, what's up? It's Tuesday, April 30th, 2024. Welcome into the Locked On Tar Heels podcast, the only daily North Carolina show out there. I'm your host, Isaac Shade, and you've joined us at the place to get your Tar Heels content every single day. I want to thank you for making us your first listen or watch. It truly means so much. Special shout out to all you everydayers out there who are with us day in and day out. Thank you for joining us. And also to all the members of the Locked On Tar Heels Discord community, glad you're here as well. This episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Make every moment more. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets, guaranteed. That's $150 win or lose. Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon to get started. Coming up on the show today, we're going to talk about Jonas Aidoo, Cliff Omoruyi, the two guys that Carolina has been focusing on as their main targets at center now. And want to ask the question, what happens if the Tar Heels don't land either of those guys? Then also want to talk about kind of the state of college basketball, some interesting comments by an unnamed head coach, but that I think are very telling about where things are at. But also, it's Tuesday, and that means it's time for Tuesday trivia. Here it is. We're dealing with career assists at North Carolina today, and here's the question I've got for you. In the 2000s, 7 different Tar Heels have amassed 400 or more career assists. Who are they? Bonus, how many assists do they have? And where do they rank on the all-time Carolina list? I doubt you'll get all the nitty-gritty, but I wouldn't be surprised if you could get those 7 Tar Heels. Write it down. Let me know if you got it. All right, let's dive right into this thing. The search for a center. The great news is that the Tar Heels got Cade Tyson. They got their man on the wing over the weekend on Sunday. That is phenomenal. I cannot tell you how critical it was to get that Cade Tyson commitment. It's so important as a domino to get things rolling. But as I record here late on Monday evening, there's still no official word from RJ Davis. There's still no center to come in to join the likes of Jalen Washington and James Brown. There's still no commitment from a 4 like Aidoo. We wait to see if Carolina can land him or if they'll just be content to sit with what they've got on the roster. But with the Cade Tyson commitment secured, the next critical domino for me, the most important domino for me, is landing a center, a dude. So Carolina came into this week basically looking at Tennessee transfer Jonas Aidoo or Rutgers transfer Cliff Omoruyi. Those are the big two kind of guys that Carolina is in the mix for. And as you'll probably remember, they missed on Aaron Bradshaw, Danny Wolf, Maxime Reynaud, Umar Ballo for various reasons because they committed elsewhere, went back to school. Carolina was more involved or less involved with some of them. None of them are Tar Heels. That's the bottom line. Well, here's the bad news that happened on Monday evening. Monday night, Jonas Aidoo posted on his Instagram that he was committing to Arkansas, staying in the SEC, moving from Tennessee to John Calipari's new home in Fayetteville. So that means that half of that Aidoo Omoruyi option gone, done, and out the window. So what that means for the Tar Heels is that Omoruyi just became all the more critically important to roster development and roster construction for next year. Now, not to say that there's literally nothing else out there, but that's where the key is now. So where do things stand with Cliff Omoruyi? Because it was a little bit up and down, a little bit rocky throughout the day on Monday. Why? Well, currently he's in Tuscaloosa, Alabama, visiting the Tide, and is scheduled, according to reporting from Inside Carolina, to come to Chapel Hill on Wednesday. Well, as part of his Bama visit, there's been a lot of pictures posted, doing a lot of hanging out. And early on Monday, a thing that got a lot of people in a tizzy was that Bama assistant coach Preston Murphy tweeted out a picture of Clifford, not Clifford Omoruyi, but Clifford the big red dog with an Alabama hat on. And this is kind of the name of the game right now. When you look on social media in this portal season, you're seeing people all over the place posting cryptic pictures, hinting at different players. And this one, a not so subtle hint to Cliff Omoruyi. The thing for me with this is rarely do these pictures have any kind of text or caption or whatever it is, as was the case with this one. It was just literally a picture of the dog with an Alabama hat. And so the problem isn't deciphering the text or the caption, because there isn't one. The problem is trying to decipher the subtext of what is being said here. Because on one hand, Coach Murphy is saying, hey, Cliff Omoruyi just committed to us, the Crimson Tide. And on the other hand, he might just be, exaggerating a little bit. Or he might just be saying, hey, we got Cliff Omoruyi in on a visit right now, and we're stoked about it in Tuscaloosa. All of that is like, is it a we got him, or is it a he's here and we're happy about it? It's hard to say. So no clue if this was fake or what, but I loved, somebody shared with me a response GIF from Sean May, obviously Carolina assistant coach, Carolina legend. That was a picture of a Cliff bar, those like healthy protein bars that tout like, hey, we're made with 4 ingredient, whatever it is. That was like a response thing. And I have no idea if it was manufactured or if Sean did that himself. I couldn't find it. I went to his Twitter. It wasn't there. And it's not from his Instagram, because the handle associated with it was Sean May's Twitter handle. And so regardless whether somebody mocked this up or whether Sean May actually did it, it's brilliant. And kudos to either Sean May or this faker for a hilarious comeback to say, all right, nice try, Coach Murphy. So I'm less concerned than I was when that picture initially came out. That's like, because my initial reaction was like, oh no, he's committing to Alabama. And I'm not saying that he's not going to, but as time went on throughout the day on Monday and there was still no word, I began to feel a little bit better. So also what helped aid in this is that some personnel news for Alabama. On Monday, Grant Nelson, unfortunately, we all remember him, frustratingly so, announced on Monday that he's coming back to the Crimson Tide next year. He can play the 5, and that was his position before he came to Alabama, but we saw him play the 4 against Carolina last year alongside Nick Pringle, for example, and there were a lot of moments where he took advantage, and Harrison Ingram or others couldn't stop him. So he's playing the 4 last year. He is a very capable 5. So that might factor in to Omoruyi going or not going. Very different games from Grant Nelson to Cliff Omoruyi, so keep that in mind. Another personnel factor for the Alabama side of things is that Ugonna Onyenso, who's one of Kentucky's transfer, they had 3 big 7-footers last year. Zvonimir Visic, who, if I remember correctly, has committed to stay with Coach Cal and is at Arkansas. The other is Aaron Bradshaw, who committed off to the Big Ten, Ohio State, right? And then the lone remaining is Ugonna Onyenso, who was a sophomore this year. There was kind of reporting from On3, or speculation at the very least, that Onyenso was an Alabama lean. That also came on Monday. So all of that leads me to say I'm not going to get too concerned just yet about Cliff Omoruyi in Alabama. So my hope in this whole saga is that Carolina can just get Cliff Omoruyi out of Tuscaloosa without committing to Nate Oates. You just got to survive until Wednesday without Omoruyi committing somewhere else. Get him on campus. Get your foot further in the door than it already is. Make a play, make a pitch, and get him to be a Tar Heel. Make him understand what he would be able to do in Chapel Hill. And at the end of the day, here's the thing. There's all these no's, not like no's on your face, but like being told no. And it's like, What is happening? Why will none of these people commit? But here's the truth of the matter. You just need one yes. That's it, just one. It's like being an actor or an actress. You're going to get so many no's from casting directors. Like, you're not right for this role. You don't have the look we're going for, whatever it is. But you just need one to believe in you. You just got to capture one and then believe in you, and then you're off and running. Or it's like a musician. So many labels, so many venues, they're going to be a no because you don't have the right sound or you don't have the right look or something else. I don't know what it is. But again, you just need a chance. You just need to convince one battle of the bands to let you in. You just need to open for one bigger band and make a name for yourself and kill it. And that's the same thing for the Tar Heels. They don't have to and don't need, quite frankly, all of these guys. They just need one. And if that's Cliff Omoruyi, then this whole concern, this whole conversation is a moot point. And so that's where we're at. But I do want to have the conversation in a hypothetical world that Jonas Aidoo, well, that's the real world that Jonas Aidoo is out. But in the hypothetical world where Cliff Omoruyi is also out, what happens if Carolina can't land either one of these guys? We'll talk about that in just a second. Right after I tell you about game time. The weather's finally heating up, and that means it's time to go take in some MLB games. Well, great news. Game Time is now an authorized ticket marketplace of Major League Baseball, which makes getting tickets to those games even faster and easier. They've got killer last-minute deals, all-in prices, views from your seat, and a lowest price guarantee. With all of that, Game Time takes the guesswork out of buying tickets. One of my favorite features of theirs is last-minute deals. Perhaps you want to get into an NBA playoff game, for example. Well, you can save up to 60% off by buying last minute for not only those games, but also concerts, comedy, theater, or other sports, and more. Or here's another thing that I love about Game Time. I'm pretty typically concerned that I'm going to show up at the gate and they're going to turn me away because I purchased bogus tickets. But with Game Time ticket coverage, your purchase is covered by the most flexible customer service policy in the entire ticketing industry. I love that peace of mind. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off. Terms apply. Download the Game Time app today. Last minute tickets, lowest prices, guaranteed. This episode is also brought to you by FanDuel. It's playoff time both in the NBA and NHL, but also baseball's in full swing, and FanDuel is your place to bet on every one of those games. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets, guaranteed. That's $150 win or lose. You can bet on everything from slap shots to home runs to slam dunks and more, but all on an app that it's safe, it's secure, and it's super easy to use. How about some World Series odds? Dodgers lead the way at plus 360, followed by the Braves at plus 470. What's up? Then the Yankees plus 600, the Orioles 1100 plus 1100, and the Phillies round out that top five at plus 1300. So what are you waiting for? Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon and make your first bet an automatic win. FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. This search for a center, it's stressful. I can't sugarcoat that. Carolina landing somebody is difficult. And all the Jalen Washington believers out there are like, I don't know why this is so stressful. We got our guy. I hear that. I can't fault you. You don't feel as stressed as the people that believe Carolina needs more. Well, here's the problem for me. I want to try to answer the question, what happens if not only does Carolina not get Jonas Aidoo, who's off to Arkansas, but what if Cliff Omoruyi commits to Alabama today, Tuesday? What if Omoruyi goes somewhere else? What happens then? Where does Carolina turn? Well, I've got three things. Number one, I just mentioned Jalen Washington. He is already on the roster, and he's a big. He's a big that can stretch things out and do things that Carolina hasn't had when that's been Armando Bacot. But the question is Jalen Washington ready for that? Does he have enough bulk for that? Are his legs back to fully healthy enough for that? I truly hope so on all these things. I would love to be, I've been on record that I think Carolina does need a center to pair with Jalen Washington. But I'm not convinced that, you want to trust somebody with those injury histories fully, or that he's got enough bulk to go up against bigger dudes in the post, like a Cliff Omoruyi, for example, or a Hunter Dickinson. Maybe, and maybe as Jay Wash continues to bulk up, he gets there, but I'm not sure of it yet. The other thing with just relying on what you've already got with the Jalen Washington option is right now the only other kind of real center or five on the roster. And I know that Jalen Washington's listed as a power forward, whatever. Just go with me here because this is the position he plays. The only other one on the roster is incoming freshman James Brown. And he's growing. He's getting better. But he's not somebody that you want to play those backup 5 minutes. To me, that's Jalen Washington with somebody else leading the way. James Brown is a development guy, in my opinion, this year. There are others who might feel differently. I'm just giving you where I'm at. And then the problem behind that, and James Brown is in that kind of 6'9-ish, 6'10 range. Behind that, it's a little bit of small ball. Maybe you could go with Jalen Withers as a small ball 5. And then that gets back into who do you land at the 4, if anyone, right? Could Zayden High play a small ball 5? Those are some possibilities, but there's not much there in terms of a true center. And so to me, that's not a comfortable place to be with. What does Carolina do if Aidoo and Omoruyi are out? Jalen Washington as the backup plan. Number 2 here. So to me, because of that, Carolina's got to go find some bulk, some beef somewhere. Whether that is someone that is solely in the portal already, or someone that is both in the draft and the portal, like could pull out of the draft and come back, but they're already in the portal, and so they could transfer to North Carolina. If you can find a guy like that, and I'm telling you, I've been scanning all through it, the pickings are slim. Not a ton out there still. But that to me is a priority, is to have somebody, because again, you lost both Armando Bacot and James Okonkwo, your 2 bigger bodied guys. You don't have that body type on the roster right now. And to me, that is a big negative for the Tar Heels ahead of next season. That could be easily exploited by a coach who's like, oh, we can go take them in the post and do work. Cool. Let's do that over and over and over again. There's your blueprint. And then that's how everyone's trying to beat North Carolina. So then that brings up to me the third option, which, again, this is a world in which Aidoo is out, which he is, but also Omoruyi. One thing to keep in mind is that it is not yet Wednesday at midnight. There still could be more portal entries yet to come today, Tuesday, or at any point on Wednesday. So you still got the bulk of 2 days, depending on when you're watching or listening to this. And you never know what could happen in those last 2 days. A guy suddenly is like, oh, I got to go. A guy suddenly is like, oh, I don't like what we have on our roster. I want to go be part of a different roster. We've seen it happen, and it can and probably will again. Keep your eyes peeled today and tomorrow. Whether it's somebody that can help Carolina or not, there are going to be more guys enter the transfer portal today, Tuesday, and tomorrow. So for me, as you look at that, some of the one last gas, right? Like PJ Hall, maybe. We still don't have a firm like I'm back at Clemson from him. I'm going to make him say no. I want to hear it. Again, everything points to him coming back, but we wait to see. Same thing, Ryan Kalkbrenner. Creighton has talked about they're still awaiting word on he and their sharpshooter, Stephen Ashworth, although things point to them both coming back. But crazier things have happened. Again, I've talked about how much I would love Ryan Kalkbrenner as Carolina's 5. But there are, there's not much. Again, I said slim pickings in the portal. So that's number 4 is like, could you grab somebody else out of the portal For example, Oklahoma State transfer Brandon Garrison. He's a 6'11 rising sophomore, has 3 years of eligibility. Not perfect, not ideal, but he's a big-bodied guy that you could get on your roster to be a big help. Would he start or would Jalen Washington? I don't know. But I feel like you need another big body on the roster, and maybe you could go get somebody like him. Again, in this world where Cliff Omoruyi doesn't come to North Carolina. Just lots going on, lots of hypotheticals we got to consider, quite frankly, because in the portal, things change day to day, hour to hour, minute to minute, whatever it is. And because of that wildness and because of how the NCAA has completely bungled this whole thing, coaches truly are not in love with the current state of things. We've seen a whole rash of life, just some of the main coaches in our sport gone out the door. And as you look at it, it would be easy to think that maybe the players are the issue. But to me, the players are not the problem. It's something else. We'll talk about that in just a second. Right after I tell you about Monopoly Go. All right, look, game off, timeout. We got to pause here to talk more about Monopoly Go. And I know what you're saying. Flag on the play. Isaac, you've already been talking about that. But look, there's just so much more to talk about in this great game. In Monopoly Go, not only can you go up against your friends, as we've talked about, but you can also team up with them for timed tournaments where you work together to build up each other's boards. And the more you win together, the more awesome prizes you can unlock. And there's so much to get. Things like unique stickers that you can trade with a friend to complete albums for big prizes, cool new playing pieces to travel the boards with, or hilarious emojis for taunting your friends when you do smash their buildings or heist their vaults. Plus, Monopoly Go feels new and exciting every day with constantly changing tournaments and challenges. A ton include their own unique mini games like digging for treasure or a robot machine. And there's always new timed events that help you win big, like massive multipliers for everything you win or rent frenzies. Well, there's always something to discover in Monopoly Go, so get off the bench, go download it now, free on Google Play or the App Store. Game on. In the past couple years, we've seen some of the biggest figures in our sport get out of the game. Some of them maybe because they were close to ready, but others because it's like, I'm seeing this landscape and I don't want no part of it. Think Roy Williams, think Mike Krzyzewski, think Jay Wright at Villanova. We're losing guys, and I don't like that. I just want to stop here as we're close to the end of the portal window and take stock of things a little bit. John Fanto, you might be familiar with him if you watch Field of 68. He's on there a lot. He does a ton with Fox. He's a Big East guy. He tweeted something early in the weekend from an undisclosed high major coach on the state of college basketball. And I want to read this quote to you verbatim because I think it's really interesting to get a coach's viewpoint on what exactly it is that's messed up. And then I'll give you my thoughts and opinions on this quote. So bear with me, listen to this. Quote, it's an expletive disaster for us veteran coaches. So there's a clue. It's not just some upcoming whippersnapper, a guy that's been around a while. For us veteran coaches, this is not what we signed up for. I am not mad at the kids one bit. Catch that. I am not mad at the kids one bit. They're seeking their value and earning money, and I think they should. It's your right to get paid. I would do the same thing that they're doing. Anyone mad at the kids is foolish. Let that sink in for a second. But shame on the NCAA for not seeing this coming years ago and being proactive. Boom, that's where I'm at. Not having a boundary or a system in place at all, having no regulations to even attempt to find a common playing field is a major miss. These collectives will get coaches fired. We have had no break. Not one coach in the country has had a single day to sit down and breathe. It's unhealthy. The other issue is you get attrition when you get commitments. Another kid sees someone commit, dislikes the idea of fighting for their role on a team, and wants to bolt elsewhere. We can't do this every single year. Kids should make big dollars, but the way this is set up right now with no contracts or regulations makes it impossible to sustain anything in the sport, end quote. That is phenomenal from this coach. Great insight, great awareness, and I love everything that was said there. And as a follow-up, because Fanta started getting back some responses like, oh, this is sour grapes from this coach who just doesn't have the NIL money to keep up. So Fanta followed up later, quote, before you assume this coach lacks NIL dollars, I can tell you this coach has a very healthy amount of money to offer players, end quote. So this is not sour grapes from some coach that's like, where's my slice of the NIL pie? This is from a coach that's a veteran that is placing the issue squarely on the shoulders of the NCAA. And my friends, I read this to you because that's exactly where I am. And so that's why I wanted to share. Let's start with the players. This is not on the players. They're just doing what any one of us in a free market would do. They are figuring out their worth and their value at a level that they're being allowed to do, right? I know name, image, and likeness is supposed to be a very specific thing, but that's not what this is. Make no mistake, this is a free market situation. And so I got literally zero issue with this, with the kid saying, look, if a school is willing to pay me this stupid amount of money, however it is, then let's get it. Why wouldn't I? And the same is true for you in your workplace. If or in your profession, let's say you're a college kid and you are a software engineer, and this whatever high desired software company comes in, let's just say Microsoft wants to hire you during college and pay you a lot of money. Why am I not great with that? I'm awesome. Do you? You have a specific skill set that can earn you money. Why wouldn't you? I love it. The problem is 100% here on the NCAA. Let's go upstream. As you look at it now, it's like, why hasn't the NCAA done anything about this? Because you can't put the toothpaste back in the tube. That's where we're at. The thing is, the NCAA could have put regulations in place years ago to protect this, to do this well, and to do this right, and to make sure that NIL truly was NIL and not some free market pay for play thing like it is right now, where coaches and agents and everybody are just without any kind of reprise being like, hey, we'll pay you this much, we'll pay that, whatever it is. And so instead, what the NCAA did everything they could to clutch to this dying vision of the amateur model as it's always been. And I love that. I love the potential innocence of college athletics, but let's be honest, it's not what it was. It's not. It's just not. And so now the NCAA is stuck because while they just flat out refuse to make headway on this, states were like, screw it, we'll make our own legislation. NCAA, if you won't man up and lead and do the things that you're called to do as the governing body of college athletics, then we're going to put legislation in place for student athletes in our states. So if a student athlete is playing is a student athlete at a school in California, we're going to say that in the state of California, they can benefit from their name, image, and likeness. To which the NCAA would say, cool, then you can't participate in our postseason. To which the schools in California say, peace, we're out, we're starting our own thing. Good luck to you, NCAA, right? Like, that's just where it is. So because the NCAA wasn't willing to go upstream and do those things, when those states began to say, hey, here's where we're headed, then the NCAA is drug into this NIL thing, kicking and screaming. And that's why it's as messed up as it is today, is because they were never willing to get out ahead of it when they easily could have. It's very frustrating. There's more to say on it, but I loved that quote from that coach, and I wanted you all to hear it. All right, quickly, let's wrap up with our Trivia Tuesday answer. In the 2000s, 7 different Tar Heels amassed career assist totals of 400 or more. Who are they? I'm going to start at the lowest on the list and work my way up. Somebody that might have eluded you, although is going to be the first person off the board here, is Theo Pinson, who is 17th all-time at Carolina in assists with 416. Next, right ahead of him is RJ Davis, who is 16th all-time with 433. Obviously, if and when the news breaks that he's coming back, we can assume that RJ's number will climb. The third guy of our 7 that we're mentioning is Joel Berry II, none other. He is 13th on the all-time Carolina list with 451. Next, the fourth guy is Kendall Marshall, who is 9th place all-time at Carolina. We move into the top 10 now. 581 career assists for Kendall Marshall in just 2 seasons. I mean, it's absolutely insane. Marcus Page is the 5th member of this list. He was 8th all-time at Carolina with 602 career assists. Then Ty Lawson, just right ahead of Marcus, 7th on the list with 608 career assists. So just 6 ahead of Marcus. And then the highest career assist guy that played in the 2000s is Raymond Felton, who's 4th on the all-time Carolina assist list with 697. Fell just 3 shy of cracking 700. That would have been crazy. So there you go. How many did you get right? I'd love to hear it. Friends, thanks so much for tuning in to today's episode. It's great to be together. It's kind of stressful to be together through some of these conversations we're having about Omoruyi, but we'll get there together. It's what we do. That's what we do. Thanks for being here. If you haven't subscribed on audio and video, do so. It's great. It's easy to do and free to do. Speaking of which, if you're not part of the Locked On Tar Heels Discord community, we'd love to have you there. It's also free to join, and the link is in the show notes. I want to remind you that it's always a great day to be a Tar Heel. I'll be back with you tomorrow on Wednesday, but until then, peace.